Copium den. Kayleigh McEnany loves it. And she did appear on Sean Hannity's Fox News show to give Trump supporters more false hope when it comes to the Trump campaign's chances of scoring a victory with the Supreme Court. Now, as we know, the Attorney General from the state of Texas, Attorney General Paxton, filed a lawsuit directly with the Supreme Court, alleging that 4 battleground states that expanded voting, by mail in order to respond to the pandemic, did so in a way that is illegal, unconstitutional. He claims that it led to voter fraud, something that there is absolutely no proof of. And then later, 17 attorneys general also added their names to this ridiculous lawsuit. And so there was a lawsuit from Pennsylvania's Republican lawmakers that made it to the Supreme Court this week. And guess what the Supreme Court did? They rejected it. They're like, not interested. Okay, so that's a foreshadowing moment. But how does Kayleigh McEnany feel about it? Let's watch.
I pointed out how strong I thought the Pennsylvania case was, because the state legislator literally bypassed their own state constitution that had very specific language in it as it relates to mail-in ballots and the limits they put on it. And the court just said no, they're not taking it. So the fact that this was taken up tells us what?
The fact that this is taken up tells us that the Supreme Court could be taking a very hard look at this. And, as this case says, either the Constitution matters or it's just a piece of parchment in the National Archives. What this lawsuit does, it looks at those anomalies, and here's what it finds. It finds that the chances of Biden coming from as far behind as he was at 3 a.m. on election night, the chances of that are 1 in 1 quadrillion. The chances of him, that's prevailing in one state, prevailing in all 4 of the states where he was so far behind, the chances of that are 1 in a quadrillion to the 4th power.
So far, the Supreme Court has taken nothing up. They rejected the Pennsylvania lawsuit. The Supreme Court has not taken up the Texas lawsuit. It's still unclear whether they're going to consider it, but they have given the attorneys general from various battleground states that are named in the lawsuit an opportunity to respond to it by Thursday. But that nonsense, like math that she was trying to push, was actually noted in the Supreme Court lawsuit. Like completely made up, complete nonsense. But these are the pretty little lies they tell themselves and Fox viewers, so they, continue to live in this like delusional like fantasy land about what happened during the election.
Yeah, I don't even know what happened during that video. So wait, so she said that they took it up. Does she not know? Does she not know what the Supreme Court taking up a case means? Is she confused, like sort of like with disease, how like positive and negative people get confused about that? Is it just a thing where she knows that nobody?
She knows.
No, but
she knows. Come on.
But I get most of the lies, but this seems like a pretty demonstrably untrue one. Nothing's gonna happen with the case tomorrow, as it might if it was taken up, because it wasn't taken up. But the thing is, no, like none of the viewers, like how many people sat back in their chair and thought, hey, wait, I think Hannity and Kayleigh got one wrong this time. I don't think that actually happened. And Hannity,
what they do, like the whole point of the messaging in that clip and all of the other statements that we've heard from Trump loyalists is to confuse people and make it appear as though there's actual substantive evidence showing that there was wrongdoing, widespread voter fraud, wrongdoing by state lawmakers that led to Biden's win in these battleground states. They're doing their best to muddy the waters and confuse Republican voters. And unfortunately, it is working based on the polling that we're seeing, even though there have been, at this point, like over 40 court battles that the Trump campaign has lost because they failed to provide any evidence, guys. You can't just go to court and accuse someone of something without providing evidence. They know what they're doing. They're intentionally lying to the American people and to Trump supporters. It's copium. It's their quick hit.
Exactly, and the only question is how many hits do they take? Is it a quadrillion or to the fourth power? We don't actually know, but it was a lot. And they can do that because they know that their audience doesn't check these things. Like in the month and a week since the election, every night there's some new big thing that supposedly is gonna blow the lid off this thing, and then it doesn't. And then they just move on, they don't reference it again. That person that was in the shadows on Laura Ingraham, like that's 20 stories ago. Nobody's thinking about that at any point. And there's like a meta shell of a situation I can't even conceive of being in, where it's not even like all this stuff is super unlikely to work, but like, hey, you're telling me there's a chance? They don't even need it to work. They're making huge sums of money while it fails. It's a great situation if you can get it, I guess.
Oh yeah, they are making huge sums of money while it fails. It's just, there's a story today about how Trump used funding from his legal defense fund or whatever, this whole court battle thing that he's been fundraising off of. He used it to pay himself consulting fees because he claims that while he was on his private jet, there was consulting taking place. So he needed to pay himself 17, or the private jet company or private jet that he owns, he needed to pay that private jet $17,000 because of the consulting that allegedly took place on a 30-minute flight. I mean, it's all he's doing is enriching himself. And in the process of doing so, by the way, he could encourage real unrest, civil unrest and violence in this country. And I'm worried about that to say the least. But what evidence are these people going off of? Like, what do they cite on a regular basis to make their arguments? Well, you'll get a little taste of it from this next video featuring Sean Hannity.
I'm having a hard time getting over that he got 15 million votes more than Barack Obama. I don't know, I'm kind of suspicious. I'm suspicious he got 15 million more votes than Hillary too. I don't know, he couldn't get 1,000 people for his virtual Thanksgiving message to sign up. Nobody on the campaign trail would go to any event that he did. Then of course, in every major city except for Atlanta, Milwaukee, Detroit, Philadelphia, and out in Nevada, it seems that Joe Biden underperformed with minority voters, but overperformed in these very, well, how conveniently happening cities I mentioned.
Unlike Donald Trump, who showed callous disregard for people's lives during this pandemic, Joe Biden actually didn't have these giant rallies where a bunch of people were encouraged to be in close proximity to one another without masks. Biden, decided to take the pandemic seriously, and he didn't have these giant rallies. And so it's just amazing to see Tucker Carlson use that fact and twist it for this political talking point that he's using. And I love how he's like, I just can't believe that he got that many votes. Well, that's like your opinion, man. Like, it doesn't matter that you can't believe it, right? Show me evidence of widespread voter fraud, and then we're having a conversation, but they have failed to do so. And saying that Joe Biden was behind in the vote count, no, he wasn't behind. It's just that they hadn't finished counting the mail-in ballots yet. We all knew that was gonna happen. All of us knew that was gonna happen.
We knew it, and but again, we should have said it. Like, somebody should have brought it up before the election. It was irresponsible of us to go into the election without anybody knowing that that's likely how it was gonna work. And even to break it down by state, that there would be a red shift in some and a blue shift in others. We should have talked about that.
These people are clowns, and it's embarrassing that they're willing to do this, like embarrass themselves with this nonsense on a nightly basis. But hey, once you're addicted to that copium, it's really hard to wean yourself off.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.